Well, my daddy left home when I was 3. He didn't leave much for my ma and me. Just this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now I don't blame him 'cause he run and hid, but the meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and named me Sue. Well, he must have thought it was quite a joke, and I got a lot of laughs from a lot of folks. It seems I had to fight my whole life through. Well, some girl giggle and I'd turn red, and some guy'd laugh and I'd bust his head. And I'll tell you, it ain't easy for a boy named Sue. Well, I grew up quick and I grew up mean, and my fists got hard and my wits got keen. And I roamed from town to hide my shame. But I made a vow to the moon and stars that I'd search all the honky-tonks and bars, and I'd kill that man who gave this such an awful name. It was Gatlinburg in mid-July, and I hit the town, my throat was dry. I thought I'd have myself a brew. At an old saloon on a street of mud, there on the table, Dill and Stud, sat the dirty mangy dog who named me Stu. Well, I knew that steak was my own sweet dad from an old worn-out picture that my mother had, and I knew him by the scar on his cheek and evil in his eye. He was big and bent and gray and old, and I looked at him and my blood ran cold. And I said, "My name is Sue, how do you do?" Well, I hit him hard right between the eyes, and he went down, but to my surprise, he got up with a knife and cut off a piece of my ear. Well, I busted a chair right across his teeth. We crashed to the wall and into the street, a kicking and a gouging in the mud and the blood and the beer. And I tell you, I fought tough for men, and I really can't remember when. He kicked like a mule and he bit like a crocodile. Well, I heard him laugh and then I heard him cuss, and he went for his gun and I pulled my purse, and I stood there looking and saw him smile. He said, "Son, the world is rough, and if a man's gonna make it, he's gotta be tough." And I looked at him and saw him smile. Well, I give you your name and I said goodbye. I knew you'd have to get tough or die, and that's the name that made you strong. He said, "Now you just fought one hell of a fight, and I know you hate me and you got the right. And if you kill me now, well, I would understand. But now before you do, you ought to thank me for the grab on your guts and spit in your eye, 'cause I'm the son of a bitch that named you Sue." What could I do? I got all choked up and I grew my called me a Paul and I called my son, and I came upon with a different point of view. Well, now I think about him every now and then, every time I lose and every time I win. And if I ever have a son, I think I'm gonna name him John, Paul, Ringo, George, anything but Sue.